New York Times, when Mao Zedong died, August 10th, 1973. Document cam, please, for TV viewers. You can just type in the search engine David Rockefeller on Mao Zedong. And he says here that the social experiment in China under Chairman Mao's leadership is one of the most important and successful in human history. How extensively China opens up and how the world interprets and reacts to the social innovations and the lifestyles she has developed and certain to have a profound impact on the future of many nations. Because China is the model. And he goes on. Now, he killed, the Chinese say, 84 mil. Okay, 84 mil. The CIA says 64, 65, 66 mil. And about 20 mil, with gunshots to the head. Now, this is the model. They're planning to shut everything off, then pose as saviors as they starve everybody. That's why they're digging in, getting ready for it. They're probably not going to get away with it because we're exposing their whole operation. Better learn about the Ford Foundation, the Carnegie Endowment, all these people. They plan this here. They admit they've written books bragging this is the plan. You wonder why I know what's going to happen next, folks, because they've got a plan. They're about 10, 12 years behind. We're battling them. People say, why hadn't the evil all come yet? Why, it's bad, but not that bad. When's the FEMA camp? So you got an Army manual about it. So what? When am I getting thrown in it? As soon as I can't hold this door back anymore. And it's like, bang, bang, come on, everybody, help me. Oh, yeah, you say something's bad on the other side of that door. I'm like, help me. I say something happy's on the other side of that door. I say, open it up, let them in. I have mass Stockholm Syndrome. But speaking of mass Stockholm Syndrome, they do this all over the country now. They have off-duty cops, and I've seen these on the news, standing there. They take your blood forcibly. They got a tiny sign down the road saying it's voluntary. We'll be right back. Let's go to Chris in Texas. Chris, you're on the air. Thanks for holding. What's your take?
Thanks, Alex. Quick point. Absolutely, Snowden is a hero. But I think more importantly than the information he brought to light is the hope that he would inspire more whistleblowers to come forward, because we know the government's not going to incriminate themselves. As a matter of fact, they've shown time and time again that they'll lie till they're blue in the face to protect themselves, not only because they think we're stupid, but because there's virtually no repercussions. They can get away with anything they want to get away with. Who got fired after Fast and Furious? All these scandals, nobody gets in trouble. So I hope that 20 more Snowdens come forward, because that's really the only hope that we have of exposing these criminals.
Yeah, in fact, he should be calling for more whistleblowers to go public. He's made more statements today to the South China Morning Post. I'm going to cover some of those with a man who's never blown the whistle on classified info, but who's pointed out things that have been leaked so he can cover it. Is Wayne Madsen, who worked for many years in naval submarine warfare and then worked high level at the NSA. And the more I learn, the more I respect this man and his level of knowledge. I'm not hyping this next guest coming up, but I'm going to tell him, go as far as he can with letting us know how bad it is. He was the guy that said when Obama came in, he hated Bush, by the way. I would call, Wayne Madsen like a populist, real progressive, not like a communist one or a fascist one. But, Wayne Madsen said that they've set up a special unit. He even knew the name of it. And then about a week after he did this, I got threatened. One of the real threats, to not talk about it. But, of course, I kept going. That only encourages me. They got very upset whenever Wayne came on and released the name of the program spying on whistleblowers. So we'll go over all of that with him on the other side and where he thinks this is going. Anything else, Chris?
That's it. No, Madsen's a patriot. Look forward to the interview. That's all I got. Thanks, Alex.
All right, good to hear from you. I really appreciate you being on with us. Yeah, I just call Wayne Madsen up, and I don't say, what's your view, before I put him on. So I don't know what he's going to say about Snowden. Sometimes he throws me curveballs because he really knows what he's talking about. He really does. I remember, interviewing Madsen 10 years ago, and I'm like, this can't be. And then it's just every time, even outlandish. Now, with Snowden, they want to distract away from that. But we had, on Monday, Congressman from Texas here on the broadcast, Stockman, and he said, yes, we should go after this illegal spying, and it's horrible. And why is it targeting the Tea Party? He was on with Wayne Madsen sitting in for me when I was flying back from London. And that's good. See, he's a real libertarian type. Rand Paul have spoken out. The rest of the Republicans are saying that Snowden is a traitor. Democrats are saying he's guilty of treason. It's a felony every time they spy on us without even the rubber stamp fake FISA warrant. And then Obama comes out and says, trust us or something bad's going to happen. We're going to have a problem. An obvious threat. Well, Wayne Madsen is a Washington, D.C. investigative journalist, and he's written for the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Houston Chronicle, Miami Herald, and hundreds of major publications online. And he, of course, worked in submarine warfare before joining a high-security job managing a large team at the National Security Agency. He wrote the best-selling book, The Handbook on Personal Data Protection. He also wrote other acclaimed books on the data protection law, genocide and covert operations in Africa. He's a frequent witness before the House of Representatives on UN criminal tribunal law, Rwanda massacre, terrorism, international panel for the French government. He travels all over the world to war zones to cover things for us and for his own site, WayneMadsenReports.com, WayneMadsenReport.com. And Madsen is a member of the Society of Professional Journalists and the National Press Club. But the real reason he's here is NSA. And he was on right after Obama got elected, and he said they are intensifying persecution of whistleblowers. They've set up a classified group. He gulped and gave us the name. I got threats over it. He had to leave the country for a while because he was told by national security sources they've got button men on the street. And you better go public about this, but also, give it time for them to call back the hitmen. And by the way, I've had multiple people he got me in contact with for the show they end up killing. So this isn't a game. And he can really tell you a lot. I mean, I'll put it to you that way. He's the guy that told people years ago, meet in parking garages. Like Drudge has been saying, meet in parking garages, because it's all surveilled. And he joins us. And I want to get into working at the NSA. I know it's classified, but I mean, obviously, this is all coming out. A lot of it's hidden in plain view. What can you talk about that's been leaked or declassified or inadvertently declassified? I know that's one way to talk about stuff that normally you couldn't talk about. What do you think of Snowden? Where's all this going? Is the answer to the persecution of whistleblowers more people going public? Because I see that happening. Is the Iron Fist backfiring? Go over it all, Wayne Madsen.
Well, yes, Alex. I want to congratulate you on giving it to those slack-jawed poltroons meeting over at Bilderberg. They need the light of day. But what the deal with Mr. Snowden, Ed Snowden? I have been in contact over the last several years with many NSA whistleblowers, also whistleblowers from other intelligence agencies, CIA and lesser-known ones. And I mean, he is the typical case. Except at least in his case, he took some measures to leave the country. I'm not sure about this strategy of going to Hong Kong. He may turn out to be a pawn between China and the United States. But everything he said has been verified to me by former people who worked at NSA and people who are still there. I'll give you an example. I just was contacted by somebody who who still works in the NSA community, and said that there are people who have access to this material, this PRISM-type metadata, who are spying on their spouses, ex-spouses, and even selling some of the information to private investigators on the outside. Is that terrorism? Is that counterterrorism? I think not.
And that's exactly what Snowden said. And I talked to one of these globalists when I was in England, and I brought up the point that I've gotten the calls, my wife's gotten them, where they tell you what you were just talking about in a previous phone call to then say, hey, do I got your attention? I'm going to cut your head off if you don't back off, buddy. And the point is that I know a lot of people. You see cops all the time using the databases they have that are nothing compared to this, to harass ex-wives or husbands or whatever. And that's what Snowden said. He said analysts are running around doing whatever they want. And now they've got Alexander and others at NSA saying that isn't true. Wayne, tell us what your whistleblowers are telling you.
Well, basically, they're verifying what Snowden had to say. Now, it's funny how the people who support NSA, the group that's the internal NSA security group, and they obviously went and knocked on his mom's door in Ellicott City, Maryland the other day. These people make the FBI look like the Girl Scouts. These are these Q group people. It's called the Q group. They have basically no oversight. They also work closely with a group at NSA of psychiatrists and psychologists. So anytime a whistleblower comes forward, they call these shrinks call the people in, and then they're determined to be crazy, and then they use that as a pretext to take their access away.
Now, by the way, this is nowhere in the news, but the last few years that you broke at WayneMadsenReport.com, and now this will probably break because now attention's on it. I mean, we've had so many whistleblowers on, but I mean, this is from. Tell people specifics on the Q group, because you're the originator of that information. You're up there on Capitol Hill. I mean, the Q group, this is the Praetorian Guard of the Big Brother Snoop system. Tell us about them.
Well, this is NSA's own little KGB and Stasi all wrapped up in one. They're the internal security. Now, when I worked at NSA, it was called the M Group. Yeah, obviously, an intelligence agency like NSA is going to have a group responsible for security and counterintelligence. But now the Q group has grown in size to more than 300 people. It's become a force unto itself. It's an intelligence agency within an intelligence agency. And what they do is, the reason you're going to get more whistleblowers coming forward is the word out of NSA is they're now really cracking down. Every time there's a leak like this, they really get tougher and tougher on their employees. So obviously you're going to see...
Well, it's like ATF a few months ago, that video, it said, the acting director said, A, don't show people this video, so people released it, and B, you must be subservient and do what we say and only talk about corruption through channels, which breeds corruption, and people are sick of it. I'm sorry, but I mean, you agree with me. The reason then that you see so many whistleblowers is that they're harassing people.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, the people on the inside of NSA, whether they're military or civilian employees, government employees of NSA, or contractors, as was Snowden. Now, I know he went back and forth between contractor and government employee. They all say the same thing. There are abuses taking place. Mr. Binney and Wiebe and Tice and Tom Tam from the Justice Department and Loomis and so many others, Tom Drake, they've all come out and said the same thing. These were senior level people at NSA, so it's across the board that the abuses are happening. And you've got, General Alexander, who's, I think, now probably the long... I was on the side of the NSA, which, we have to protect our own communications. That's, I guess, pretty much the benign side of it. But I do know that anyone, because of operation security and communication security, that anyone who used a government telephone or used government computers was liable to be listened in on by NSA. It's part of the deal. Even the president, because the president would speak on something called a secure telephone unit. NSA had the codes for that. So conceivably, yes, even then the president could be listened in on. But that's not what Snowden was saying here. They're saying that's ridiculous that he could listen to the phone calls of the president. That's not what he said. He said if I had a personal email account for President Obama, I could read his email. That's what he said. But everybody's taking what this guy said out of context. They're attacking the messenger.
What do you think they'll try to do to him?
Oh yeah, well, I hope he's got another plan. I would not want to see him stay in Hong Kong. I've made some efforts to try through intermediaries to get in touch with him if he's still in Hong Kong. There are other alternatives he should look at, but what the Justice Department will do is go to Interpol and get a red notice, arrest warrant issued. The Secretary of State, Kerry, could revoke his passport, which would make him a stateless person and make him illegal in Hong Kong. He can stay there for 90 days, but if they revoke his passport, his 90-day visa is worthless. The idea that he might go into the mainland China, he could turn up being a pawn between two superpowers, not a good idea. But this brings up an interesting point, Alex. There's not a whole lot of countries where Americans could go to escape. This is, Cuba, maybe Venezuela.
We've got Jones Dautier, the member of the Icelandic Parliament, coming on Friday. She's trying to get him to go there, but if that's the case, he'll have to still hide out because they'll just send a woman into his room to claim he raped her.
Yeah, and the other thing about Iceland, there's a new right-wing government there. This isn't the former government that had this idea will become